Right, and you know, it's not like we're sitting in the middle of a Broad Ripple or somewhere like that where people come to hear music.
No.
So it does make it a little more
difficult. There's always been a lot more, I think there's always been a lot more musicians in Crawfordsville than there was people to really react or respond to it.
Right.
And
now
certainly venues.
That's one thing that I've noticed, especially doing this show and whatnot, is the incredible amount of talent that's in this area. And I hope I can interview a tenth of the talented artists that are in this area, just to expose that to everybody. That's one thing that, you know as well as I do. There's some dead areas, but Crawfordsville area, and even into the Lafayette area, and just the satellite around, there is a lot of talent.
There's a lot. There always has been.
There always has.
There always was. There were really good people, like back when I was starting out. Talk about influences as far as people that got me really interested in being more towards original music and stuff, which was like, and this would have been probably 70, right when I started, 70 or 71, right in there. And I went down to Newmarket, and they had a thing down there at the gym, Battle of the Bands at the gym. And I don't know if they were, I can't remember what they were called, I don't know if they were still called Thunder Junction or not, but it was Gary Dickerson on drums, and Dave Kazee and Randy King on guitars, and Jay Abbott on bass.
Wow.
And those guys were just laying it down, of course, to me, and we weren't huge difference in ages, but when you're as much of a novice as I was at the time, and you see guys like that, they're a little bit ahead of you. It's like light years. You're like, oh my God.
There's no way I can. That was me with you, man.
Go home and cut your hands off, that sort of thing. I can't do this.
Right, yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I'd go home from watching you play, and I'd just like kick my amp, like, I'm never good at this. But persistence.
But those guys, that's really where the trigger went, because all the stuff that influenced me to play, like the Beatles, was the main thing, obviously.
Right. I've always thought you were like the fifth Beatle. That
I was the 12th, maybe the 13th Beatle, or the 49th Rolling Stone. But yeah, all that stuff, I dug it, and that's really what probably pushed me over the edge, and a lot of things too. The music that I heard, just the whole '60s invasion thing, Cash. I've been a Johnny Cash fan.
Wow.
Since the Beatle days and the rock and roll. All of it. If there's a good music,
so you took it.
It just all came in. Yeah, it was just
you didn't stick to one genre.
No,
like, I want to bang heads.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I liked it. Nice. I could always tell good stuff. And
so
good
you did.
Songs.
It didn't. The genre of music didn't necessarily have to.
No, I like it all.
That's cool.
It's all
that's
music.
Cool to have the variety. See, that kind of speaks droves in my experience of watching you play. Is you do have an ability to go anywhere.
Oh yeah,
I've heard you tear up the blues.
Yeah.
Just lay down the law on the blues. Yeah. I've heard you lay down the law on country. Yeah. And I would have never thought, but here
hard to tell which country sometimes.
But seriously, you did. Yeah, I've heard you do that. And it's just like the story I was saying a little bit ago. I take my dad to an open stage, who's not a guy that goes into a bar. And you guys were up there playing. It's kind of when Dense Ground Fog was first starting to come together at the open stages, and I think it was at Crash McLean's. And I was telling him, he says, well, this guy's pretty good. And I said, yeah, he can play anything, Dad, anything you can think of. And he says, play yakety sax, and I'll be damned. And you start right in on it. And he was blown away. And he's always asking, I know Monte Keller. He's the guy that plays yakety sax. So, having that vast amount of music to draw from. If he'd asked for Wonderland by Night, I'd have been a putz to him, because I wouldn't. How does that go? Yeah, yakety yak. That's pretty cool.
Sax, Boots Randolph.
So you got yourself into these bands, and you started moving around, playing the different bars in the different areas and everything. Was there any particular? I don't know. Most of us kind of have a goal in mind when we're doing this, or were you one of them, like most of us, who were just in it for the experience and where that road took you?
I had no, like I am today, I have absolutely no purpose, no goal, no direction. And I don't.
Right.
Because, as bad as it sounds to say, I really don't care.
Right.
I played because it was like, you know, the light hit me and it was like, you know, my brain exploded and it's like, get a guitar, idiot, and start doing this. And I did.
Right.
But I never wanted to, you know, it's like never wanted to hang out after the show and all that. Never cared about any of that. And I think there was enough, I was practical enough to see, you know, and if you could have made it, probably we would have had a better chance back then.
Right.
Although I think a little earlier it would have been better.
Right.
If you're going to do the whole traditional, go out and run yourself into the ground and play everywhere and try not to die of this contracted disease or this drug or alcohol or whatever it was.
And that's a part of it that we all have
the
to
recreation
deal with
that goes with
musicians.
You know? Yeah, yeah.
It's just part of the scene, it seems like sometimes, and
Stay
overcoming
clean,
those things
kid.
and
Stay
staying
clean.
clean is the way. Believe me.
Because you go into a lot of towns, you meet a lot of rock stars sometimes. You don't see a lot of musicians, but boy, there's plenty of rock stars.
There sure are.
We got them all over.
Yeah, I know what that's like, because when I was with group therapy, and we were going all over the place, and now there was like one summer where I barely remember, because me and a bottle of Crown Royal were inseparable.
Yeah.
And you know, you get to the point where you learn that this is not doing myself any favors, not doing my body any favors, and it's not doing my career any favors.
Everybody you read up on, I mean, from Keith Richards on down, they'll tell you that, you know, that you don't play well with it. You don't really create well with it.
No.
I mean, it's a byproduct of the lifestyle sometimes, and it gets magnified for whatever.
And I've found that you have to separate that lifestyle from the music itself.
Yeah,
you have
because the music should be the drug. I mean,
exactly.
That's the whole
There's
thing.
the key right there.
You know, because that's the thing that drives you. I mean, if you really, and like I said, like back to what you were mentioning, I didn't have. I suppose maybe when we first started out, we all had pipe dreams of like, well, we'll play on the roof or something, but we never, got married, had a job, I always played. I mean, it was what I did.
Right. But real life does step into the way sometimes.
A really elaborate hobby or something,
right?
Or a possessive hobby, but it came around, and I did what I did with it, and I still do it. But
that's pretty cool. Now I remember, coming on up into the 80s. You were in a couple of different bands, and one of them I specifically remember was Rosewood Ash.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
What a fun band!
It was a great band.
You guys were fun. Oh yeah. I mean, every time you would go see Rosewood Ash, you're just going to have a blast, because the banner that you guys had on stage, the fun that you were having on stage, all that. Is that just something that just comes out? Is that what this thing will do?
Oh yeah, I think and I think that. I think one thing that I've seen a lot of bands, I've been around people in bands that, which if you're going to expand on writing or performing or whatever, it's one thing to get up and just do that by yourself. Now, I don't usually like playing solo because I just don't see what the attraction is. I like playing in an ensemble because I like bouncing off of people. I like that part of it.
That's cool.
But the hardest thing in the world is to get people that all agree in the same direction. You know that.
It's like a marriage.
Oh, very much so.
But it's like a 4 or 5 7-way marriage, or however,
it's like the Mormons do.
Exactly. I mean,
I married 8 other guys in a band and a horn section. That's great, isn't it?
And sometimes 3 backup singers.
3 backup singers. 2 calling birds, 3 French hens.
Yeah.
And a guitar.
Right.
But it's hard to do all that organization with people and make it work. Bands it's very hard to do, but the humor, I mean, we always were nuts. And like I said, I never forced myself into playing with people that I didn't like.
That's a key. That really is important.
Yeah, because I always like to like the people I played in the band with.
To.
I didn't want to just let's get this guy because he's really good, but nobody likes him.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. It's not fun.
It isn't.
Because we're usually, we're always laughing at each other and making fun of each other all the time. I mean, That's
part of the entertainment value of any band.
And Rosewood was a great band because
they were.
We did everything.
You did.
It's one of the few bands you could go in. We'd play Hank Williams Sr. and go right into Pink Floyd.
Right. That's
you don't get that segue a lot.
Right, and that kind of shows what you were saying a few minutes ago about how it's not just one genre. And the cool ability about that is I know I've been thrown into a few situations where it was a pure country crowd, and I play a little country,
sure,
and it can get by with it, but I'm not going to be able to satisfy a pure country crowd. And somebody like you, I believe you could, because you could go in and pull that off. You
sometimes it's luck. I mean, yeah, it is.
Really.
It is.
I'll agree with you there.
Sometimes you just get lucky. I mean, it's not. I mean, because you can go into any situation playing, and you can be very talented, or you can, be very personable and have everything going for you, and you just hit a flat crowd or whatever, or you just don't make that connection. I mean, everybody has that. Everybody got them,
Exactly.
But you got people that get up and they perform, and we've talked about people that we know.
Yes.
And that's what you do. You go in and do what you do. I've always told people, I mean, and they'll say, oh, you play really good. And I'm like, okay, maybe. But
you're always your own worst critic.
I'm ruthless.
Have to be. Oh, we all
I have to be, because I know what I'm doing. And it's like, well, it's not that hard. But you do. You go in and watch somebody. And I've always told people, I said, I don't really care. I mean, this sounds bad too, but I don't really care if they're there or not. I mean, it's neat. I like it. Don't get me wrong.
Right. You get that.
I don't dislike you people, but I'm saying that's not. It doesn't matter. I play just as good sitting at home on a couch as I would in front of however many people I've played in front of. And you do. You get a buzz from it sometimes, but I don't go up there. I'm not really the performing thing. Maybe it happens weirdly because that's how I react to it.
Right.
But I'm not like, hey kids, let's do the show here. Hey, how you doing tonight? Glad we can come in and play for you. It's great, isn't it?
Exactly.
But that's not my thing. I just play.
You let the music talk.